Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 7 of season 2 of our F1 2010 career mode. Yes, we return this weekend out in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live towards the end of last week from Monte Carlo, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. And it's safe to say, after the opening few rounds of this campaign, things are still looking very, very good. Obviously, last weekend we became the first repeat winner. Oh, okay. I have no idea what my contract objectives are with Mercedes, but I'm pretty happy with how things are going at the moment there. But yeah, obviously, if you missed out on that GP, go back, check it out, because yeah, we took our second win of the season, becoming the first repeat winner so far in this campaign. If we take a quick look at the championship standings, it now means we have a 21-point buffer ahead of Fernando Alonso, but it is still Force India that are absolutely setting the F1 world alight at the moment. Antonio Liuzzi in third, tied with Jenson Button. Adrian Sutil, P5 in the World Championship, ahead of Lewis Hamilton and Kamui Kobayashi there, who's tied with Kubica, and I believe also Felipe Massa. You can see the two Red Bull drivers in 10th and 11th, my teammate Michael Schumacher, all the way down in P12, but I'm pretty certain now everybody but Lucas de Grassi has scored a point so far. So yeah, it's safe to say Season 2 has been just as wide open as Season 1 ended up being. Constructors-wise, though, we hold a 7-point gap over the aforementioned Force India team. Ferrari in P3, ahead of McLaren there, with Renault and Red Bull tied for 5th spot as well. So I'm obviously hoping, we can try and wrap up both World Championships over the course of this season. Of course, there does still seem to be a little bit of confusion. My goal is to win one Drivers' Championship on every single F1 game. So as soon as I win the Drivers' title, obviously we'll be moving on to F1 2011 as well. But yeah, of course, if you're new, like I said, please make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed. We're trying to hit 3k subs on the channel as well. But I've only just realised I got it wrong in the intro. We're not heading to Montreal, we're heading to Istanbul, which is arguably maybe even more fun. We'll have to wait and see. Well, heading out then, ready for qualifying here from Istanbul Park. First of all, I'd just like to apologise that there hasn't been as many videos from this series in the last couple of weeks. Of course, I've been very, very busy with some other projects as well. And for the first time in quite a while, I'm actually going on holiday at the end of this week as well. Only for the weekend away, obviously with last 2-1-2. So, yeah, obviously just going to be nice to get a little bit of a break. But obviously, yeah, once I get back, I'm hopefully going to try and obviously, continue trying to keep this series ideally kind of 3 uploads a week, maybe every other day there or thereabouts. Obviously throughout the, kind of rest of this F1 2010 cycle. But obviously, bigger picture stuff. Obviously got a couple of new releases coming out in the next couple of months as well. Obviously MotoGP, Forza Horizon 6, and of course the F1 26 or DLC as well. There is Sebastian Buemi completely in the way. So there's a lot going on, but don't you worry, the F1 2010 career mode is here to stay. Obviously, I guess unless we win the championship this season, and if that's the case, then the F1 2011 career mode will be here to stay as well then. But pace so far this weekend looking pretty good in the car once more. Obviously, I remember last season here, this is a really, really tricky circuit to try and get absolutely nailed. Just got to obviously be very, very careful with the curves there, as I think that was again Buemi trying to potentially make my life a little bit awkward through those final couple of corners, but aiming to kind of be in the low 28s, ideally 29.1 should be enough to see us through anyway, but not as good as I was hoping. Well, there we go then. Fernando Alonso has set the tone with that Q1 run then. 7/10ths quicker, but once again, it's the Force Indias in P2 and P3 there. So, Ferrari versus Force India. I didn't realise this was Belgium 2009, but I'm not going to be opposed to that being the battle up at the front, as long, of course, as we can get ourselves in the mix as well. But Vettel ahead of Hamilton, Webber ahead of Button as well, and then the two Mercedes inside your top 10. Out in Q1, though, Jarno Trulli squeaks by as Buemi and Hulkenberg both go out, alongside all of the other back markers. So, yeah, brilliant effort there by the Italian. Obviously, we tend to do our Q1 runs on a set of the primes, so moving over now onto a set of the option tyre. Fingers crossed, obviously, we're going to be able to find a little bit more speed in the car. I also forgot to put this in the up wing setting, which is really, really important through Sector 1 and Sector 2 here. Again, where there's a lot of corners that kind of fall away from you, Turn 3 is a great example of that. And obviously into Turn 4 as well. You obviously want all of the available downforce you can possibly have. I am running completely default wing this weekend, though, because it seemed to strike a good balance. Like I said, giving us enough bite through these twisty bits. But obviously, again, making sure we got the straight line speed down the back straight. Will Turn 8, 9, 10, 11 be flat out? I don't think so in this car. I could try and run, like, really high wing angle and hope to make it work. Although I tell you what, 1, 2, 3... and 4. There we go, it is flat out. That's not what I was expecting. Making our way in towards the final couple of corners then. Like I said, having to mess around with the wing angle. A little bit around this lap. Saw a bit of a lock-up down in towards that hairpin. Luckily means you can kind of gather up the apex on the exit, so hopefully not too much time lost. But want to be down into the 27s this time round then on the run back towards the line. 27.8. That's where we need to be. Well, there we go then. That time round, we do go through fastest, but by just 1/1000th of a second ahead of Felipe Massa. Fernando Alonso in third, so once again, Ferrari just seemed to have the edge over Force India. But it's exactly the same top 10 then, so both Ferraris, both Force Indias, both McLarens, Mercedes and Red Bulls that make it through into Q3 there. Brilliant effort, though, by Pedro De La Rosa, who narrowly misses out ahead of the Renault cars as well. And, well, unfortunately for Jarno Trulli, he did make Q2, but he's going to go no better than that. Only 1/10 of a second away, though, from the Toro Rosso and the Williams. Maybe Caterham are still pretty competitive. Lotus, I should say. Not much time, then, to try and get the laps hooked up ready in Q3, then, as we head out of that final corner. So we're probably only going to sensibly get 2 or 3 laps out of the car, so want to try and find a little bit more from, obviously, the pace we set in Q2. Always wonder what that bridge is over Turn 1. Is it just a walkway for fans, or is it something else? Someone will have to let me know down in the comments below, but I still, obviously, I mean, there's rumours still, isn't there? It hasn't been confirmed that we could get Istanbul back in the not-too-distant future. Maybe not that corner, though. I don't want that one corner back. Well, we have been the pole sitter on, what, 5 out of the first 6 Grand Prix so far this campaign. This Mercedes over 1 lap. Very, very rarely has anybody been able to get near us. This first run, though, not going to be a good representative. Clearly, our engineer didn't get the memo on that one then, but oh, nice and tidy. Turn 1 is a real commitment corner. Maybe not that committed, though. Luckily, this game, obviously, when you run out, track limits, it just slow you down, so we won't have found any time from doing that. That breaks us at the end of the curb, up the hill in towards Turn 3 and Turn 4, and again, I've got to be careful. Obviously, you want to try and put it all on the line, but got to make sure that we keep it clean and tidy, as this first sector of the lap should hopefully be where we find a fair amount of time. 2 seconds up then, so as long as I can match this around the rest of the circuit, we should be on for a mid to high 27, and that obviously was enough in Q2 to see us top of the pile. You never know, though, who's going to be able to improve here at the moment. There is, oh, again, just run a little bit wide through the Turn 8 through 11 complex, but down the hill, rev out 6th gear there. Is all someone trying to get a good line in towards that chicane. Lower the wing angle, though. Is all someone's gone for a spin. So I think that was whoever was trying to dive bomb me. We are still 2.1 seconds up, though. In fact, we matched perfectly our Sector 2 splits from our first and our second run there. Nice and tidy, though, on the brakes in towards the final couple of corners. Hug that apex, clip that curb, and then avoid the last one as well. Just try and square off that final corner. A little bit of wheel spin as we try and put the power down. Will this be enough to put the solo on the pole? 27.6. That's a pretty good benchmark. I'm going to go for one more, just see if I can find a little bit more speed. But the good news is Fernando Alonso even has put a time on the board, and he has not gone quicker than us, as we have once again found another 1/10 of a second through that first sector. This is the good thing with these Bridgestone tyres. Although they were hilariously durable back in 2010, it did mean you could try and get a couple of qualifying runs in. Obviously, you don't have to worry about battery modes or anything like that either. Down the hill we go once again. They're really just trying to get right up on those apex curves as best as we can. Lower the wing angle out into the back straight one final time. Hopefully we found a couple more tenths there. 3 tenths up by the time we get through to the end of Sector 2. But the AI, they are rapid through that middle sector. So going to have to be careful of that when we get into the race as well then. Nice and tidy in towards the hairpin. A little bit more risk taken And we know we've got a pretty good time on the board. Obviously, final corner. We've gone round. And hopefully, the lap we did is going to be enough for pole. Well, there we are then. Once again, it does seem to be myself versus Fernando Alonso up at the top of the order. 1/10 of a second in it, but our 6th pole from the opening 7 GP. Massa will line up third ahead of Liuzzi and Sebastian Vettel there. So Adrian Sutil not quite able to get his last run hooked up. But once again, yeah, McLaren and Red Bull just do not seem to be in contention right at the front. Michael Schumacher, though, lining up 10th. What can he do come race day Sunday?
The boss is expecting another podium finish this weekend. Think you can deliver?
Right, here we go then. 5 red lights coming on here at Istanbul. Lights out, and away we go there. Once again, trying to avoid the wheel spin of the launch. And once again, the AI should be able to do a pretty good run with that. Fernando Alonso, though, not taking any risk down towards turn 1. And what I'd really love to do for the second weekend in a row is try and hang on to the lead of a Grand Prix by the end of that first lap there, of course. Like I said, the AI very, very good through Sector 2 around this circuit, so we are going to have to be careful with it on this opening lap as well. Obviously making sure that we get the tyres up to temperature, get everything up to speed, but Alonso staying ahead of Felipe Massa. In fact, let's try and think about having a look down the inside of us. In towards that next hairpin, though. Up the hill, your top 2 in the World Championship, your 2 World Championship protagonists. What really going for it is, of course, heavy with fuel. Very, very understeery through the exit turn 10 and turn 11. And Fernando Alonso trying to now potentially have a look down the inside before we even get out onto that back straight there. Again, just give him a little bit of a squeeze on the way in. This is great wheel-to-wheel racing between myself and the Spaniard then on this opening lap there, as through the kink we go. I'm going to try and defend the inside line as we head up over the top of the hill once again. Fernando Alonso not too far behind us. In fact, he's going to try and have a sneak to the inside. Oh, a little bit wide down at the hairpin, but we just about hang on to it there. And this might be a really good track where we're fairly evenly balanced with the Ferrari car there as out of the final corner. Nice and tidy. We lead at the end of lap 1. But still, I mean, there are so many cars right behind us. It's going to be quite difficult to stay here. I've just got to avoid making any errors, avoid taking too much curb, and just try to pray that we can build up a little bit of a gap. Oh, no. No. Oh, that was so scary. Come on, hang on to the car. That chicane is lethal. I mean, look at that. Everybody squeezing their way by there. Adrian Sutil finding his way through as well. Felipe Massa, though, is suddenly up into the lead of the Grand Prix, so he must have got around Fernando as well then, but very early on the brakes, though, goes Adrian Sutil in towards those final few corners. The AI, again, really, really good through there, but I mean, it felt like we weren't even on that inside curb. It just tipped the back end around, so hadn't really experienced that at any other point so far this weekend, but a critical error very early on. But luckily, I do think we've got the speed to kind of stick with these guys. But obviously, overtaking is not that easy. It doesn't happen too often on F1 2010. The AI do kind of find some pace once you let them, or obviously once they find a way through. But again, Pedro De La Rosa only had a good start up inside the top 10. Now he's trying to really attack us there as the other Force India of Liuzzi trying to chase down those Ferraris that are now 1 and 2. Whoa, one of the Force India, again that's Liuzzi, isn't it? Making a little bit of an error as we head out onto the back straight, but do we have the speed against the likes of Adrian Sutil? I think if we want to go for moves, we might have to try and have a look to the inside of the AI, because they are just so good. Whoa, in towards that hairpin is Sutil. Oh, and Sebastian Vettel there, having a look down the inside of both Germans in towards the final couple of turns, but just again, try and keep the car clean and tidy. I mean, look at that, Sutil all the way off the road to try and make sure he hangs on to that position, so not sure how the FIA will feel about that one, but Sutil hangs on for now. So that is a lot of curb through turn 1. We might be able to get a run, though, on Sutil out of turn 2 there. I mean, this next corner, not really much of a braking zone. To try and consider having a look, and you can just see the AI on their tram tracks, not really able to do anything against them. So we've definitely got the speed to hang, but we're going to have to be very brave if I want to make some moves there. As you can see, Felipe Massa and Fernando Alonso, they've been given that chance. They are now streaking off into the sunset. But if at first you don't succeed, try, and try again then. Adrian Sutil, once more, I'm going to try to look around the outside of him. Oh, I'd really try and give him a squeeze, though, in towards that hairpin. And hopefully now, as I bobble over that next curve, we have made the move work there. As you can see, McLaren battles going on just in front, just like we saw from the IRL Grand Prix here. As look at that, Sebastian Vettel potentially wanted to make it 3 wide by the time they get down in towards turn 1. Hamilton and his old Season 1 sparring partner there, wheel to wheel through the first couple of corners. And although this race might not have gone the way I wanted it to so far, we are getting a lot of on-track action. As we come towards the end then of lap 7, I forgot just how bad tyre wear is around this circuit as well. Pedro de la Rosa has found a way around me, once again just using the AI's interesting use of physics inside this game, but really trying to take these soft tyres, or these option tyres I should say, as far as I possibly can, but we are just losing ground to everybody in front of us. So yep, there you go, we're going to dive in at the end of this lap, because that's about as far as I want to take this set, but hopefully he's going to also mean that the hard tyres in the second half of the race are going to be a little bit more manageable. Yeah, we have seen quite a few guys though dive in a little bit earlier, so not too sure what's going on there, but once again, qualifying pace in this car looking fantastic. Once again, the AI's race pace looking better. Well, I'm trying to remember whether Felipe Massa has ever won a race inside this series. I honestly cannot tell you. So there we go, a couple of guys diving into the pit lane, including myself. Oh, I'm always scared that the AI is not going to take over control at the right time. So there we go, make sure we've got the limiter. Oh no, I forgot to brake. I completely forgot to brake. Yeah, oh, that was bad. That was bad. Not what we needed then in a race that is already proving to be quite tough for us, but hopefully we're going to get back out nice and tidily, which we will back out then onto the circuit. So we've definitely been jumped by a handful of cars then in this GP. And as Felipe Massa then has dived in as well, Fernando Alonso has now been unleashed up at the front of the order. We're going to come out right alongside Heikki Kovalainen in his Lotus car, so we need to try and find a way around him nice and quickly as well. I'm hoping, I mean, he's on old tyres, so I know we've got to try and fire these up to temperature. Hopefully we're going to be able to try and clear him pretty quickly, but once again, another race where we just seem like we don't quite have the race pace against the AI. One error can make all the difference, because obviously they get through, then are allowed to just go quicker, as there's a Renault stopped. I'm going to overtake Heikki Kovalainen accidentally. Am I going to get away with that one? I think, yeah, that was Robert Kubica that's out of the Grand Prix. I think I've got away with that, though, against Heikki, and I'm not really sure how. And then, so this should give us a better idea as to where we are re-emerging. I believe it was Michael Schumacher that wasn't that far behind me when I did dive into the pit, so hopefully we're going to stay ahead of our teammate. In fact, there might be some teammate squabbles out on pit lane exit. No, there isn't. Michael Schumacher has cleared us then, so yeah, that botched pit stop, I've only got myself to blame, but that has been a great shame. Not too sure then who it is at the front of this next gaggle. I think it's either a Toro Rosso or one of the Virgin cars there. It's definitely one of the Virgins, but they are keeping one of the McLarens, De La Rosa, Schumacher, at bay, so I guess this works out quite nicely for us, as it allowed us to just reel them all back in, so points hopefully are still going to be doable then in this race, because there's a few guys, yeah, that obviously started on the hards, that are looking obviously to go to the option tyre a bit later on in the race. But once again, we just need to score. That's the main goal, because, you know, points week in and week out are how World Championships are won. Jensen Button trying to have a look past that Virgin. Michael Schumacher really held out up on the exit, so hopefully now we're going to be able to try and find a way around these guys there, as we'll get past one. We might be able to get past two as Button and Glock. I mean, look at the speed we've got down the inside of Timo Glock as well, down in towards those final couple of corners. Button's still not giving up on it. A little bit of contact with the McLaren man there, as I don't want to loop the car around, but all of that battling has given Timo Glock a little bit of breathing room, but I almost got 4 cars down the back straight there. Someone else into the pits. So we are going to be into the points then, but I mean, Timo Glock doesn't do that badly inside this game. It's actually Hulkenberg has literally come out right in front of me, so he has held on inside the top 10, but he's on a set of the option tyre again, so I'll be impressed if he can hang on to those for the rest of the afternoon. Oh, a huge run back up the hill, though. Again, everybody just getting held up. Oh, behind Timo Glock, surely not all the way around the outside of Hulkenberg through there. I mean, we're still on his outside, though. Maybe we can get a run down the hill, but this is not a corner. I really want to try and have a look to the inside of the AI. I'll try and go all the way around the outside of Hulkenberg instead then. Give him a bit of a squeeze on the exit. And there we go. We are up back inside the top 10. Once again then, here is Button trying to get a run on Timo Glock just in front of me. I mean, that Virgin is not actually that bad in a straight line there, but Button and Timo Glock really getting held up on the inside. I hear contact going on behind, so not too sure who's damaged their wing there. That might have been Hulkenberg, because Shumi now is up to 11th. Oh, Timo Glock not getting a run that time round. We will say thank you very much against Jensen Button. Are we going to be able to clear the Virgin as well? Yes, we will. Back up then into 8th spot in this GP. I know it's not kind of the lofty heights I was hoping for this afternoon. Sebastian Boehm is in front of us, so I wonder if he's still got to make a pit stop then towards the end of this race. And it's actually Sebastian Vettel that is leading the way up at the front of the order as well. There's a couple more guys peeling into the pit lane. There's an 11-second gap to Boemi, so if he has pit, I've got no idea how he's ended up that far ahead of us, but we just got to try and knuckle down towards the end of the afternoon then. Look to try and save a little bit of fuel, keep things clean, keep things tidy. We go Barrichello into the pit lane then as Felipe Massa seems to reclaim the lead up at the front of the order, but going long really does seem to work for some of the AI inside this game. Not for Rubens though. He's going to come out just a little way behind us. We are going quicker than Boemi as well. So like I said, I've just got to hope that he needs to pit. And I mean, I would not complain with a top 5 here. With the way this race has gone, a P5 finish would be very good. Well, this is the annoying thing about this Mercedes car. I don't know how many of you guys remember back in 2013. Obviously, Mercedes, before, you know, they went on their dominant spell during the turbo hybrid era, they were very, very good over one lap in early 2013, but just could not look after the tyres. It almost feels like we've kind of got that with this car. It's very, very good on low fuel, but obviously, yeah, as soon as you've got a bit more fuel in the car, oh, it is terrible there as, oh, Jensen Button finds his way down the inside, down onto the back straight. Hopefully, though, with the slipstream, I mean, we're both closing in on the likes of Boemi and whoever he's battling with still late on in the afternoon. But to the inside of GB, we will have to try and have a look again. Oh, a little bit of contact there as we just missed the apex, but we'll get down the inside of Button again, cover him off through that final corner, and we are not giving up this one without a big old fight right towards the end of the afternoon. But annoyingly, that is allowing Boemi just to hang on in front. Well, I'm about to start the last lap then here from Istanbul Park, and Felipe Massa, well, it has been a long time coming, obviously since his injury back in the end of 2009, but Istanbul, this place was a circuit he dominated. Won his first Grand Prix here, if I remember correctly, and then won 3 back-to-back as well. Istanbul Park did belong to Felipe back in the early the late 2000s and into the early 2010s. But this is another thing that this game does that really does annoy me, is it kind of slows everybody else down in front of you right towards the end of a race. But as soon as you can see them, they then get back up to speed again. So you can be going kind of 2-3 seconds a lap faster than some of the other runners until you can see them again, and then they suddenly find a bit more pace towards the end of the afternoon. So just hoping that obviously I'm not going to run out of fuel on this last lap of the GP as well. But Liuzzi, Boemi, and I don't know who else is in that little squabble just up in front. Unless something cataclysmic happens now on this final tour of this Istanbul circuit, I think, yeah, we're going to have to follow them home in P7 there. Very, very lucky to get away with that curb. So obviously we'll lower the rear wing out onto the back straight once again. But these guys are really going for it on this final lap. Jensen Button, though, trying to close in on me as through the final couple of corners, Felipe Massa, he is going to come out victorious here at Istanbul. He's for the win around this circuit. For us, though, through the final couple of corners, hang on just ahead of Jensen Button. No risk on the power as we make our way out the final turn. It is P7.
6 points! Well done, mate! Nice job!
there we go. Clearly our engineer very, very happy with that result as well. But yeah, I feel like we had a lot left to be desired from this weekend. Massa, though, from third on the grid, he will claim the victory. And, well, despite the fact Red Bull didn't look that good in qualifying there, the tables really did turn. Sebastian Vettel, 18 points. And a solid day out in P2, just ahead of Fernando Alonso, who does take some points out of me in the World Championship, but not quite enough. Brilliant drive from Sebastian Buemi out in Q1 on Saturday. 12 points, though, coming into Sunday afternoon as Hamilton beats out Liuzzi, myself, Barrichello just pit Button on the run to the line, and Michael Schumacher as well, bagging that final points-paying position. Adrian Sutil out then of the top 10, just ahead of Robert Kubica and Pedro Della Rosa, as then you can see it was just Alguersuari, Webber, and Kamui Kobayashi that failed to see the checkered flag. Championship-wise then, it means that gap has been cut to 12 points now ahead of Fernando Alonso, so we've got still a healthy buffer. But I'd love to obviously try and build that up through these next few weekends. Antonio Liuzzi, though, still ahead of Felipe Massa, like I said, with his first win since his horrific crash at the Hungaroring. That will be a huge relief for him, ahead of Button and Lewis Hamilton there. Sutil drops down to P7, 9 points still, though, ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who gets the jump on Kamui Kobayashi and Robert Kubica there, and relegates Mark Webber out then of the top 10 as well. Michael Schumacher, another point for him, but he gets jumped by Sebastian Buemi as well, and it's still just Degrassi yet to score a point. Constructors-wise, though, a huge boost for Ferrari at the top, though. 25 clear of Mercedes. We've still got a 6-point lead, though, over Force India, and a further 4 ahead of McLaren, as Red Bull back ahead of Renault. BMW Stauber still ahead of Toro Rosso, who get a huge leap away from Lotus and Williams, who are applying some pressure behind with Virgin and HRT. Thank you all, though, so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon out for the Canadian Grand Prix.